I, 34, have been dealing with my ex-wife Sarah, 31F, and her new boyfriend Marcus, 28M, for the past year since our divorce was finalized. We have a son, Tyler, 7, and had agreed on 50-50 custody. Everything was going relatively smoothly until Marcus showed up about 6 months ago. Marcus is one of those guys who thinks having a motorcycle and sleeve tattoos makes him a badass. He works construction, vapes constantly, and has very strong opinions about what makes a real man. From day one, he's been trying to position himself as Tyler's new father figure. Last Thursday, I went to pick up Tyler from Sarah's place in Denver, like I do every week. Sarah answered the door with that look she gets when she's about to stir up drama. Marcus was standing behind her, arms crossed, looking like he was auditioning for a Netflix biker series. "Hey, Jake," Sarah said sweetly, which immediately put me on guard. "We need to talk." Tyler came running out with his backpack, but Sarah stopped him. "Tyler, go tell Marcus goodbye. Remember what we talked about?" My 7-year-old looked uncomfortable, but walked over to Marcus and said, "Bye, bye, Marcus, Dad." Marcus got this smug grin and looked right at me. "That's right, buddy. Marcus, Dad, will see you soon." Sarah crossed her arms. "Jake, we've been talking, and honestly, Marcus thinks it might be better for Tyler if he had more consistency. With a real male role model who's actually present." I felt my jaw clench, but before I could respond, Marcus stepped forward. "Look, man, no offense, but Tyler needs stability. I'm here every day. I'm the one helping with homework, teaching him sports, tucking him in. You just show up twice a week like some kind of weekend uncle or something." "Marcus has been amazing with Tyler," Sarah added. "He's teaching him how to be tough, how to stand up for himself. Boy, stuff that." She gestured vaguely at me. "You know." Marcus nodded. "Real men don't abandon their families. I'm stepping up where you couldn't." I looked at Tyler, who was staring at his shoes. Then I looked back at Marcus. "You're right," I said calmly. "Tyler does need consistency." Both Sarah and Marcus looked surprised. They were clearly expecting a fight. "If you think you're the better father figure, then you won't mind proving it," I continued. "I assume you're planning to make this official? Marriage, adoption papers, the whole thing?" Marcus puffed up. "Damn right I am. Sarah deserves a real husband, and Tyler deserves a real dad." "Great. Then you won't mind if I step back and let you handle everything. School pickup, doctor appointments, all of it, since you're so confident." Sarah frowned. "What do you mean?" "I mean, if Marcus wants to be Tyler's dad, then he can be Tyler's dad. Full responsibility. I'll still pay child support, of course. But if you think I'm the problem here, then remove me from the equation." Marcus looked confused but nodded. "Fine by me. Tyler doesn't need some part-time father figure anyway." "Perfect," I said, then turned to Tyler. "Have a good week, buddy. I love you." Tyler looked like he wanted to say something, but Sarah hurried him inside. As I walked back to my car, I heard Marcus say to Sarah, "See, he doesn't even care." Real fathers fight for their kids. What Marcus didn't know was that I'd been documenting everything for months. Update 1. The next few weeks were interesting. True to his word, Marcus took over everything. School pickup, grocery shopping with Tyler, the works. Sarah was posting constantly on Facebook about her amazing man who stepped up when others wouldn't, and finally having a complete family. But Tyler started calling me during my designated phone times with some concerning stories. "Dad, Marcus' dad got really mad at my teacher yesterday." "What happened, buddy?" "She said I was behind on my reading, and Marcus' dad told her maybe if the school actually taught kids instead of pushing their liberal agenda, I'd be fine. Then he said some bad words and we had to leave." I wrote it down. Another call. "Dad, Marcus' dad says I can't do soccer anymore because it's for weaklings. He signed me up for junior boxing instead, but I don't like getting hit." I wrote that down too. And another. "Dad, Marcus' dad told me I'm not allowed to cry anymore because men don't cry. But my knee really hurt when I fell off my bike, and he said if I cried about it, I couldn't have dinner." I was writing everything down and doing something else. I was getting it on record. See, Colorado is a one-party consent state for recording phone conversations. Every call Tyler made to me was legally recorded with my consent only. After 3 weeks of this, I had hours of recordings. Update 2. The breaking point came when Tyler called me crying, actually sobbing, which he never did anymore. Dad, I want to come home. What happened, Tyler? Marcus' dad said you don't really love me because if you did, you'd fight to see me more. He said real dads don't just give up like you did. My heart broke, but I kept my voice steady. What do you think, Tyler? I think Marcus' dad is wrong. You call me every day. You come to all my baseball games even when it's not your week. You help me with my homework over video chat. Marcus' dad doesn't do those things. Tell me more about what Marcus' dad does. What came out over the next 20 minutes made me immediately call my lawyer. Tyler told me about Marcus's drinking, how he'd get funny drinks that made him loud and mean, about how Marcus would smoke weed in the garage and then drive Tyler places, about how Marcus had started hitting Tyler, not abuse, he called it toughening up, when Tyler would cry or show any emotion. But the worst part was what Tyler said next. Marcus' dad showed me pictures on his phone of ladies with no clothes. He said when I'm older, he'll teach me how to get girls to take pictures like that for money. He said mommy used to take pictures like that before she met him. I stopped recording and immediately called my lawyer, David. Update 3. David listened to everything and was quiet for a long time. Jake, this is bad. We're talking about potential child endangerment, possible grooming behavior, definitely creating an unsafe environment. The drinking and driving alone is enough for emergency custody. What do? We file immediately, tonight. I'm going to request an emergency hearing for Monday morning. Don't contact Sarah or Marcus. Don't tell them what's coming. Just pick up Tyler as scheduled this Friday, and then we'll serve them with papers. Friday came. I went to pick up Tyler, and Sarah answered the door looking annoyed. You're early. Just excited to see him, I said casually. Marcus appeared behind her. Yeah, well, we were thinking of taking Tyler camping this weekend instead. Dude needs to learn outdoor skills, not sit around playing video games at your place. Actually, I said, I think Tyler needs some downtime. It's been a busy few weeks for him. Marcus stepped closer. See, this is your problem. You treat him like he's fragile. Kid needs to learn to be tough. And you're the one to teach him that? Damn right I am. I'm more of a father to him than you've ever been. I nodded thoughtfully. You know what, Marcus? You're absolutely right. You should definitely keep being exactly who you are. He looked confused but satisfied. Tyler came out with his bag, and I noticed he looked thinner than usual, and there was a small bruise on his arm. Ready, buddy? He nodded quickly and practically ran to my car. As we drove away, I saw Marcus put his arm around Sarah and say something that made her laugh. They looked so confident, so sure they'd won. They had no idea what was coming. Update 4. Monday morning arrived. Sarah, Marcus, and their lawyer, some guy named Brett who looked like he'd rather be defending DUIs, showed up at the courthouse looking cocky. David came prepared for war. We had the phone recordings, documentation of missed school days, a statement from Tyler's teacher about Marcus's aggressive behavior, and photos I'd taken of Tyler's bruises during our weekend together. But the judge decided to do something that changed everything. I'd like to speak with the child, Judge Rodriguez announced, in chambers with a child advocate present. Sarah went pale. Marcus looked confused. Tyler was in there for 45 minutes. When they came back out, the child advocate looked disturbed, and Judge Rodriguez looked furious. Mr. Thompson, the judge addressed Marcus directly. The child has shared some very concerning information about his home environment. Marcus tried to interrupt, but the judge shut him down. Tyler has described in detail being struck as punishment for showing emotion. He's described witnessing drug use and being driven places by someone under the influence. He's also described being shown pornographic material and being told that this is normal behavior between men. Sarah started crying. Marcus looked like he was going to be sick. But what concerns me most, Judge Rodriguez continued, is that this child is clearly traumatized. He told me, and I quote, Marcus' dad says if I tell anyone about our man talks, bad things will happen to my real dad. That sounds like coaching and intimidation to me. The entire courtroom was silent. Tyler also said that he's been told repeatedly that his biological father abandoned him and doesn't love him, which is contradicted by the evidence of consistent contact and involvement. Judge Rodriguez looked at Sarah. Miss Patterson, you've allowed an environment where your child is being physically disciplined by someone with no legal authority, exposed to illegal substances, and potentially groomed. This is unacceptable. Update 5. Judge Rodriguez granted me temporary emergency custody immediately. Sarah was allowed supervised visits twice a week for 2 hours each. Marcus was ordered to have no contact with Tyler whatsoever, pending a full investigation. But here's where it gets really interesting. Remember how Marcus was so confident about being a real man and taking full responsibility? Well, when the Child Services investigation started, guess who immediately tried to distance himself from everything? Marcus hired his own lawyer and started claiming he was just Sarah's boyfriend, had no responsibility for Tyler, and that any discipline was Sarah's idea. Real stand-up guy, right? Sarah was devastated. She called me crying. "Jake, I didn't know it was this bad. I thought Marcus was just teaching Tyler to be strong. Sarah, he was hitting our son. It wasn't hitting, it was just..." He said it was normal dad stuff, like how his dad raised him. And the drugs, the pornography. She got quiet. I didn't know about that stuff. "You live there, Sarah?" "I worked double shifts. I wasn't always home." That's when it hit me. Sarah hadn't just allowed this to happen. She'd been willfully ignoring it because Marcus made her feel wanted and special. Update 6. The investigation moved quickly. Turns out Marcus had a record I didn't know about. Nothing involving kids, but several assault charges, multiple DUIs, and a domestic violence complaint from his ex-girlfriend that never went to trial. Child Services interviewed Tyler multiple times. Each session revealed more disturbing details. Marcus had been telling Tyler that his tears were pathetic and that real men solve problems with their fists. He'd been having Tyler watch inappropriate movies with violence and sexual content, calling it man education. He'd also been telling Tyler elaborate lies about me, that I'd left because I didn't want to deal with a difficult kid, that I only visited out of obligation, that I complained about paying child support. The worst part? Marcus had been taking photos and videos of Tyler during their training sessions, hitting punching bags, lifting weights too heavy for him, doing push-ups until he collapsed, and posting them online with captions like "raising a real man" and "no participation trophies here." My 7-year-old son was being used as content for this jackass's social media image. Update 7. The final custody hearing was scheduled for 6 weeks later. By then, the investigation was complete, and the results were damning. Marcus didn't even show up. His lawyer said he was focusing on other priorities and wished everyone the best. Translation: he abandoned Sarah the moment things got difficult. Sarah showed up looking like she hadn't slept in weeks. Her lawyer looked tired and defeated. David presented our case methodically. The recordings, the photos, the investigation results, testimony from Tyler's therapist, and character witnesses, including my boss, Tyler's teacher, and even Sarah's own mother, who had apparently been trying to warn Sarah about Marcus for months. But the most powerful moment was when Judge Rodriguez read from Tyler's final interview. Tyler was asked who he feels safest with. He said, "My real dad, because he never yells at me for crying, and he says it's okay to be scared sometimes." When asked what he wants, Tyler said, "I want to live with my dad, but I want my mom to get help so she can be happy without mean boyfriends." Judge Rodriguez granted me full custody. Sarah got supervised visitation once a week, pending completion of parenting classes and mandatory counseling. The judge also issued a permanent restraining order against Marcus, which ended up being important for reasons I'll get to. Update 8. Tyler's been with me full-time for 2 months now. He's in therapy, doing better in school, and starting to act like a normal 7-year-old again. He still flinches sometimes when he thinks he's in trouble, and he apologizes constantly for things that don't require apologies, but we're working on it. His therapist, Dr. Kim, says Tyler's resilient but has some learned behaviors that will take time to unlearn. He's been conditioned to suppress his emotions and to view affection as weakness, she explained. It's going to take patience and consistency to help him understand that healthy relationships don't work that way. Tyler asked me last week why Marcus wanted to be his dad if he didn't actually like kids. How do you explain to a 7-year-old that some people see children as accessories or opportunities rather than individuals who deserve love and protection. I told him that some grown-ups make bad choices and that it wasn't his fault that Marcus turned out to be someone who wasn't ready to be a good dad to anyone. "But you were ready," Tyler said. "I've always been ready, buddy. I've been your dad since the day you were born." He hugged me tight and said, "I know. I always knew." Update 9. Sarah has been struggling. She completed the parenting classes but failed her first psychological evaluation. Apparently, she's been diagnosed with codependency issues and something called chronic external validation seeking. Basically, she needs constant approval from men to feel worthwhile. Her supervised visits have been inconsistent. She's missed 4 out of the last 8 scheduled visits. When she does show up, she spends most of the time talking about her problems rather than focusing on Tyler. The supervisor noted that Sarah seems to view Tyler as an extension of herself rather than as an individual child with his own needs and feelings. Tyler asked me after the last visit, "Why does mommy always look sad when she sees me?" "She's not sad to see you, buddy. She's sad about choices she made, and she's trying to figure out how to be a better mom. Is she ever going to figure it out? I don't know how to answer that question." Update 10. Here's where things get really crazy. Remember that restraining order against Marcus? Well, apparently Marcus didn't take the whole stay away from Tyler thing very seriously. 3 weeks ago, Tyler and I were at the park near our house when Tyler suddenly went very quiet and grabbed my hand tightly. "Dad, Marcus, Dad is here." I looked around and saw Marcus sitting in his truck across the street, just watching us. I immediately called 911 while keeping Tyler close to me. Marcus saw me on the phone and drove off before the police arrived. But I got his license plate and reported it. 2 days later, he showed up at Tyler's school. The school has his photo on file as someone who is not authorized to pick up Tyler, but he tried anyway. Told the office staff that there had been a misunderstanding and that Sarah had sent him to get Tyler for a dentist appointment. When they refused and called me, Marcus got aggressive, started yelling about his rights as Tyler's father figure and how the school was interfering with family business. School security escorted him off the property and called the police. Marcus was arrested for violating the restraining order and for attempted child endangerment. Update 11. Marcus's arrest opened up a whole new can of worms. Turns out, while he was supposed to be staying away from us, he'd been harassing Sarah, trying to get her to drop this whole thing and get back together. Sarah finally told me that Marcus had been calling her constantly, showing up at her work, and even breaking into her apartment when she wouldn't answer his calls. He kept saying that if I just told the judge I made everything up, we could all go back to being a family, Sarah said during one of our conversations about Tyler's visits. "And what did you tell him?" "I told him that I couldn't lie about what happened to Tyler, that Tyler was more important than whatever Marcus and I had." It was the first time since this whole mess started that Sarah seemed to be prioritizing Tyler over her own emotional needs. But Marcus wasn't done. He somehow got hold of my work address and started calling my office, claiming to be a family member with an emergency. My assistant, Karen, figured out pretty quickly that something was off and started documenting the calls. Then he started showing up in places where Tyler and I went regularly: the grocery store, the library, Tyler's baseball games. Always just close enough to be seen, never close enough to be confronted. Tyler started having nightmares again. Update 12. The final straw came when Marcus broke into my house. I work from home twice a week, and Tyler was at school. I was in my office when I heard someone moving around downstairs. I grabbed my phone and hid in the closet while calling 911. I could hear Marcus downstairs, looking through our things. He was talking to himself, saying things like, "This is what Tyler needs to see, and time to show this kid who the real man is." He was in my house for maybe 10 minutes before the police arrived. They found him in Tyler's room, going through Tyler's toys and clothes. Marcus tried to claim he was retrieving his gifts to Tyler, but of course he had no receipts, no proof, and no legal right to be there. He'd also brought a duffel bag full of what he called training equipment: boxing gloves that were way too big for Tyler, protein powder, and some kind of workout plan he'd printed out titled Making Tyler Strong. The scariest part? He had a folder full of printed screenshots of Tyler's school schedule, my work schedule, and photos he'd taken of Tyler and me at various places around town. He'd been stalking us for weeks. Update 13. Marcus was charged with breaking and entering, stalking, harassment, and multiple violations of the restraining order. His bail was set at $50,000, which he couldn't make. While he was in jail, his ex-girlfriend, the one who'd filed the domestic violence complaint that never went to trial, reached out to me. Her name was Jessica, and she had a story that made my blood run cold. Marcus has a pattern, she said. He targets single mothers, moves in fast, establishes himself as the man of the house, and then becomes controlling and abusive. How many women? That I know of? At least 5, including your ex-wife. He usually moves on when the kids get old enough to fight back or when the mom starts questioning his methods. Jessica had been documenting Marcus's pattern for 2 years, trying to build a case to warn other women. She showed me social media posts from multiple women, all describing similar experiences. Marcus swooping in to save them and their children, quickly becoming violent and controlling, and then disappearing when things got too complicated. The thing about Marcus is that he genuinely believes he's helping, Jessica explained. He thinks he's teaching boys to be real men and helping single mothers who can't handle raising boys alone. He doesn't see himself as abusive. What happened with you? I have a daughter, not a son. He lost interest pretty quickly when he realized she couldn't be his little training project, but not before he did some damage. She showed me photos of bruises, screenshots of texts where Marcus berated her parenting, and recordings of him screaming at her 4-year-old daughter for acting like a spoiled princess. Update 14. Jessica's information helped the DA build a pattern case against Marcus. 3 other women came forward with similar stories. All had been single mothers with young sons. All had experienced the same cycle: love bombing, quick cohabitation, Marcus establishing himself as dad, increasingly violent discipline, and then escalation when the women tried to protect their children. One woman, Patricia, had a son who was now 12. Marcus was with us for 8 months when Danny was 6, she told me. By the end, Danny was so scared of showing any emotion that he wouldn't even laugh at cartoons. It took 2 years of therapy for Danny to feel safe being a kid again. Another woman, Michelle, had lost custody of her son temporarily because she'd allowed Marcus to discipline him so severely that teachers reported suspected abuse. I was so convinced that Marcus was helping Tommy become strong, Michelle said, crying. I let him convince me that I was too soft, that boys needed firm guidance. I almost lost my son because I believed that man. The pattern was always the same. Marcus would identify vulnerable single mothers, usually ones who expressed concern about raising boys without a strong male influence. He'd present himself as the solution to all their problems. Then he'd systematically isolate the children from their mothers, convince the mothers that his methods were necessary, and escalate physical and emotional abuse while calling it training and toughening up. Update 15. Marcus pled guilty to multiple charges to avoid a longer sentence. He got 18 months in jail, 3 years probation, and a permanent restraining order against Tyler and me. But more importantly, the judge ordered him to register as someone who poses a risk to children, which means his information goes into a database that schools and daycares can access. At the sentencing, Marcus finally showed his true colors. Your Honor, I was trying to help these families. These boys need strong male role models, and their fathers either abandon them or are too weak to do what's necessary. I was teaching them to be men, not victims. Judge Rodriguez was not impressed. Mr. Thompson, you systematically abused children while convincing their mothers that abuse was beneficial. You traumatized a 7-year-old child and then stalked his family when you were ordered to stop. Your inability to recognize the harm you've caused shows exactly why this sentence is necessary. Marcus looked genuinely confused, like he couldn't understand why everyone was treating him like a criminal instead of thanking him for his service. As he was led away, he looked at me and said, "Tyler's going to grow up soft because of you." I looked right back at him and said, Tyler's going to grow up safe because of me. Update 16. Tyler and I have been in our new house for a month now. I decided to move us across town, partly for a fresh start and partly because our old neighborhood had too many memories of Marcus showing up unexpectedly. Tyler loves his new room. He picked out light blue walls and has posters of his favorite baseball players. He also has a reading corner with a comfortable chair and good lighting because he's been devouring books lately. Dr. Kim says that's a good sign. Children who've been through trauma sometimes throw themselves into learning as a way of regaining control over their environment. Tyler's doing great in his new school. His teacher, Mrs. Anderson, knows about our situation and has been incredibly supportive. She said Tyler is one of the most polite, thoughtful kids in her class. But she's also noticed that he asks permission for things that most kids just do automatically. He asked if it was okay to use the red crayon because it might be someone else's favorite color, she told me. It breaks my heart that someone taught him to doubt his right to make basic choices. We're working on that in therapy. Tyler still has moments where he expects to be punished for normal kid behavior, but they're getting less frequent. Last weekend, he accidentally spilled juice on the carpet and immediately started crying and apologizing, saying he'd clean it up and wouldn't ask for juice anymore. I knelt down to his level and said, "Tyler, accidents happen. We clean them up and move on. You're not in trouble." He looked at me with surprise and said, "Marcus' dad would have made me do push-ups for being clumsy." Well, I'm not Marcus. I'm your real dad, and real dads know that kids spill things sometimes. He hugged me and said, "I like being your kid." Update 17. Sarah's progress has been complicated. She's completed the parenting classes and is in individual therapy, but she's also been through 3 different boyfriends in the past 4 months. Her therapist told Tyler's therapist with permission that Sarah has a pattern of seeking male validation and has trouble maintaining healthy boundaries in relationships. Tyler noticed, "Dad, why does mommy always have a different boyfriend when I see her?" "Your mom is still figuring some things out, buddy." "Is she going to bring another Marcus dad around?" That question gutted me. I don't know, Tyler, but what I do know is that you'll always be safe with me, and if anyone ever makes you uncomfortable, you can tell me right away. He nodded seriously. "And you'll believe me?" "I'll always believe you." The supervised visits have been up and down. Some days Sarah seems focused on Tyler and genuinely engaged. Other days she spends the time talking about her job, her living situation, or whatever guy she's dating. Tyler's starting to notice the difference. After the last visit, he asked me, "Dad, does mommy miss me, or does she just miss having someone who has to listen to her?" Jesus, my 7-year-old shouldn't have that level of insight into adult dysfunction. Update 18. I ran into Marcus's ex-girlfriend Jessica at the grocery store last week. She told me that Marcus is due to be released next month and that he's been writing letters to some of the women from his past, including Sarah. He's trying to convince them that he's learned from his mistakes and wants to make amends, Jessica said. But I know Marcus. He doesn't think he made mistakes. He thinks everyone else overreacted. She showed me a letter he'd sent her. "Jessica, I've had time to think about our relationship, and I realize I came on too strong. I was just trying to help you and Emma become stronger people. But I understand now that you weren't ready for that level of commitment to growth. When I get out, I'd like to take you to dinner and show you how much I've matured. Emma needs a father figure, and I think I can be more patient with her now." The letter was terrifying in its complete lack of self-awareness. "He still thinks Emma needs a father figure, even though she has a father," Jessica said. "He still thinks I need his help. He learned nothing." I asked Jessica if she'd warned Sarah. "I tried. I called her a few weeks ago. She said she appreciated the concern, but that Marcus had already reached out to apologize and that people deserve second chances." My blood ran cold. Update 19. I immediately called my lawyer, David. "Can Marcus contact Sarah while he's in jail?" "Not directly, but he could have someone else call or write on his behalf." "Why?" I told him about Jessica's conversation and Marcus's letter. "Jake, you need to document this. If Marcus is already trying to reestablish contact with Sarah, there's a good chance he'll violate his restraining order the moment he's released." David contacted the DA's office, and they agreed to monitor Marcus's communications more closely. They also reached out to Sarah to warn her about the potential violation. Sarah's response was, "Not what I hoped for." She called me that evening. "Jake, I think you're overreacting. Marcus sent me a letter apologizing for everything that happened. He says he was going through a rough time and made some mistakes, but he's gotten help in jail and wants to make things right." "Sarah, he broke into my house. He stalked Tyler. He hit our son." "I know, but people can change. And honestly, I think some of this got blown out of proportion. Marcus was never trying to hurt Tyler. He was just intense about discipline." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Sarah, Tyler had bruises." "Kids get bruises, Jake. Tyler's fine now." "Because Marcus isn't around him anymore." She got quiet for a moment, then said, "Look, I'm not saying I want to get back together with Marcus, but I don't think he deserves to have his whole life ruined over some misunderstandings." "Misunderstandings? You know what I mean." I realized in that moment that Sarah was already being manipulated again, even with Marcus in jail. Update 20. I was right to be worried. Marcus was released 2 weeks ago. His first stop was Sarah's apartment. I know this because Tyler told me during our regular phone check-in, "Dad, Mommy's friend Marcus is back." My heart stopped. "Marcus is at Mommy's house?" "Yeah. He brought flowers and said he missed us. He told me he learned how to be a better dad in timeout." I stayed calm for Tyler's sake, but inside I was panicking. "Tyler, how do you feel about Marcus being there?" "I don't like him, Dad. He still looks at me the scary way, and he told Mommy that I probably forgot how to be tough while he was gone." "Did he touch you or hurt you?" "No, but he said next week we're going to start training again so I can catch up on being strong." I told Tyler I loved him, ended the call, and immediately called David and 911. The police went to Sarah's apartment, but Marcus was gone by the time they arrived. Sarah claimed he just stopped by to apologize and had already left to go back to his own place. But Tyler called me again that night, whispering into the phone, "Dad, Marcus is still here. He's sleeping on the couch. Mommy told me not to tell you." Update 21. I called the police again and explained the situation. This time, they took it seriously. Marcus was arrested at Sarah's apartment at 6 a.m. the next morning for violating his restraining order. His bail was revoked and he's back in jail pending a new trial for the violation. But the damage was already done. Sarah was furious at me. She showed up at my work screaming about how I was ruining her life and using Tyler to control her. Security had to escort her out. She sent me a barrage of texts. "Marcus was just trying to apologize and you had him arrested again. Tyler is my son too, and I should be able to have whoever I want in my apartment. You're turning Tyler against me with all this drama. Marcus never actually hurt Tyler. You just want to punish me for leaving you. I hope you're happy now that you've destroyed any chance Tyler has of having a father figure." I screenshot everything and sent it to David. That evening, Tyler called me crying. "Dad, Mommy's really mad at me. She said I got Marcus in trouble by telling you he was there." "Tyler, you are not in trouble. You did exactly the right thing by telling me. But Mommy says I'm a tattletale and that families are supposed to stick together. Tyler, your job is not to keep adult secrets. Your job is to be safe and tell the truth. Am I still going to see Mommy?" That was a good question. After this stunt, I wasn't sure Sarah should be having any unsupervised time with Tyler. Update 22. David filed for an emergency modification of the custody agreement. Given Sarah's violation of the spirit of the original order by allowing Marcus back into Tyler's life and her subsequent attempts to coach Tyler to lie about it, the court agreed to suspend even her supervised visits pending a full review. Sarah hired a new lawyer, a more expensive one this time, and fought back hard. Her argument was that Marcus had served his time, she had a right to see whomever she wanted, and that I was using the legal system to alienate Tyler from her. Her lawyer painted me as a controlling ex-husband who couldn't handle his ex-wife moving on. But David was ready. He presented Tyler's recorded phone calls, the text from Sarah, evidence of Marcus's pattern of behavior with other families, and most importantly, Tyler's own testimony to the child advocate. Tyler told the advocate that he felt scared when Marcus came back, that his mother had asked him to keep secrets from me, and that he didn't feel safe during visits anymore because he never knew if Marcus would be there. Judge Rodriguez was not pleased with Sarah. "Miss Patterson, you were specifically warned about this individual's pattern of behavior. You've placed your own desires above your child's safety and well-being. You've asked your child to lie to his father about a situation that directly impacts his security. This shows extremely poor judgment." Sarah started crying and tried to explain that Marcus was different now, that he'd apologized, that everyone deserved second chances. Judge Rodriguez cut her off. "Miss Patterson, second chances are earned through consistent behavior over time, not through apologies and promises. Your son's safety is not negotiable." The court suspended Sarah's visitation rights entirely, pending completion of additional counseling focused specifically on protecting children from inappropriate relationships. Update 23. Tyler took the news about his mom's suspended visits better than I expected. "Is it because I told the truth about Marcus?" he asked. "No, buddy. It's because the grown-ups need to make sure you're always safe. Your mom needs to learn how to make better choices about who she brings around you." Will she learn? I hope so, but even if she doesn't, you'll always be okay because you have me, and Grandma and Grandpa love you, and you have lots of people who want you to be safe and happy. He nodded thoughtfully. "Dad, I'm not sad about not seeing Mommy right now." That admission broke my heart. "It's okay to feel however you feel about it, Tyler. I love Mommy, but I don't like how scared I feel when she makes bad choices." My 7-year-old had articulated something that many adults struggle with. You can love someone and still need to protect yourself from their poor decisions. Update 24. Sarah didn't take the suspended visitation well. She started showing up places where Tyler and I went. The park, his school, even our new neighborhood. She wasn't technically violating any court orders since there was no restraining order against her, but it was clearly an attempt to see Tyler outside of the legal framework. The first time it happened, we were at Tyler's baseball game. I looked up from cheering and saw Sarah sitting in the stands about 20 feet away, staring at Tyler. When Tyler saw her, he froze. He stopped paying attention to the game and kept looking over at her nervously. After the inning ended, he ran over to me. "Dad, why is Mommy here? Am I in trouble?" "No, you're not in trouble. Mommy's just having a hard time following the rules right now." I walked over to Sarah. "You can't be here," I said quietly. "This is a public park. I have a right to watch my son play baseball. You're making him uncomfortable. Look at him." Tyler was standing by the dugout, clearly torn between wanting to play and being worried about what was happening with his mom. "He's uncomfortable because you've turned him against me," Sarah said. "Sarah, he's uncomfortable because he's 7 years old and doesn't understand why the adults in his life keep creating drama." She started crying. "I just want to see my son." "Then follow the court's requirements. Get the counseling. Show that you can prioritize his safety." "I am prioritizing his safety. Marcus is gone." "Marcus is gone because he's in jail for violating a restraining order, and you let him back into Tyler's life the moment he got out the first time." She didn't have an answer for that. Tyler's coach came over and asked if everything was okay. I explained the situation quietly, and he offered to have one of the other parents keep an eye on Tyler while I dealt with Sarah. I convinced Sarah to leave, but it happened 3 more times over the next 2 weeks. Update 25. David advised me to document Sarah's behavior and file for a restraining order if it continued. "She's not technically breaking any laws, but she's clearly trying to circumvent the court order," he explained. "If she keeps showing up and making Tyler anxious, we can argue that it's harassment." I didn't want to get a restraining order against Tyler's mother, but I also couldn't have her disrupting his sense of security every time we left the house. The decision was made for me when Sarah showed up at Tyler's school. She went to the office and tried to check Tyler out for a dentist appointment. When the school called me to verify, I explained that Sarah didn't currently have custody and wasn't authorized to remove Tyler from school. Sarah argued with the office staff, claiming there had been a misunderstanding with the court paperwork and that she was Tyler's mother, so she obviously had the right to take him. When they refused, Sarah demanded to see Tyler just to say hello. The principal, Mrs. Chen, handled it professionally but firmly. Miss Patterson, I understand this is difficult, but we have clear documentation about who is authorized to make decisions regarding Tyler. You'll need to resolve this through the appropriate legal channels. Sarah became increasingly agitated and started raising her voice about her rights as a mother and how everyone was keeping her from her son. Other parents in the office started staring. Tyler's classroom was right down the hall, and Sarah's voice was carrying. Mrs. Chen had to call security. Tyler heard the commotion and came out of his classroom to see what was happening. When he saw his mom being escorted out by security, he broke down crying. His teacher, Mrs. Anderson, called me immediately. Update 26. I left work and went to pick up Tyler from school. He was in the nurse's office, still upset. Dad, why was Mommy yelling at school? Did I do something wrong? No, buddy. You didn't do anything wrong. Mommy's just struggling with some big feelings right now. Is she mad at me? No, she's not mad at you. She misses you and doesn't understand why she can't see you right now. But you told me it's because she needs to learn to make better choices. That's right. Tyler was quiet for a moment. Dad, I think Mommy's feelings are too big for her to handle. Out of the mouths of babes. That evening, I called David and told him about the school incident. Jake, this has to stop. Sarah is traumatizing Tyler with these surprise appearances, and she's escalating. Today it was the school. Tomorrow she might try to take him directly. What do? We file for a restraining order. I know you don't want to, but Tyler's emotional well-being has to come first. He was right. That night, Tyler asked me, Dad, if Mommy can't control her big feelings, does that mean she's never going to get better? I didn't know how to answer that question. Update 27. The restraining order hearing was scheduled for the following week. In the meantime, Sarah's behavior escalated further. She started calling the school daily, asking for updates on Tyler's academic progress and demanding to speak with his teacher. She showed up at our neighborhood playground and waited for us, then followed us home when we left. She sent Tyler a package through the mail, something that wasn't technically prohibited since there was no contact order, but the contents were troubling. The package contained a photo album titled Mommy and Tyler's Special Memories, filled with pictures of Tyler and Sarah, but also several photos that included Marcus. There was a letter inside. My sweet Tyler, Mommy misses you so much every day. I know Daddy is telling you that Mommy made bad choices, but sometimes grown-ups disagree about what's best. Marcus wants you to know that he's sorry for being too strict and that he was only trying to help you be strong. Mommy hopes that someday you'll understand that we were all just trying to be a family. I love you more than all the stars in the sky. Mommy. Tyler brought the package to me, looking confused. Dad, why is Marcus in my special memory book? I don't have special memories with Marcus. I don't know, buddy. What do you think about the letter? I think Mommy still doesn't understand why Marcus was scary. What makes you say that? Because she says he was trying to help me be strong, but being strong isn't about getting hit or being scared to cry. Tyler was developing an emotional intelligence that honestly impressed his therapist. Dr. Kim said that children who survive trauma sometimes develop heightened awareness of emotional manipulation as a protective mechanism. Tyler's learning to trust his own feelings instead of accepting adults' explanations for behavior that made him uncomfortable, she explained. That's actually a very healthy development. Update 28. The restraining order was granted. Judge Rodriguez reviewed the evidence of Sarah's behavior, showing up at school, following us around, sending inappropriate materials, and determined that it constituted harassment. Sarah was ordered to stay at least 200 yards away from Tyler, me, Tyler's school, our home, and any activities Tyler was participating in. She was also ordered to have no indirect contact through third parties or mail. The order would remain in effect until she completed her court-mandated counseling and could demonstrate to the court that she was able to prioritize Tyler's emotional well-being over her own desires. Sarah's lawyer argued that this was excessive and that I was using the legal system to permanently separate Tyler from his mother. But David presented Tyler's own words as recorded by the child advocate. I love my mommy, but I feel scared when she surprises me places because I never know if she's going to be upset or if she's going to bring Marcus or someone else who might be mean. I just want to feel safe. Judge Rodriguez addressed Sarah directly. Miss Patterson, your son is asking for predictability and safety. Those are basic childhood needs. Until you can provide those things consistently, this order is necessary. Sarah broke down crying in the courtroom, but for the first time, she didn't argue. Update 29. It's been 3 months since the restraining order was put in place. Tyler's anxiety has decreased significantly. He no longer looks around nervously when we're in public, and he stopped asking if mommy is going to show up unexpectedly. He's thriving in school, making friends, and has even joined the school chess club. Dad, I like knowing what's going to happen, he told me recently. Like I know you'll pick me up from school every day, and I know we'll have dinner together, and I know if I have a bad dream, you'll come check on me. That's called stability, buddy. I like stability. Sarah has been in intensive counseling for the past 3 months. According to her therapist's report to the court, she's starting to understand how her pattern of seeking male validation has impacted her parenting. But she's also apparently struggling with accepting responsibility for her choices. Sarah continues to frame herself as a victim of circumstances rather than acknowledging her agency in creating unsafe situations for her child, the therapist's report stated. She expresses love for Tyler, but has difficulty understanding how her actions contradicted that love. Tyler asked me recently if I thought mommy would ever be ready to see him again. I don't know, buddy, but I do know that if and when she is ready, it will only happen if she can show that she's learned how to put your safety and happiness first. What if she doesn't learn? Then you'll still be okay because you have me and lots of other people who love you. He nodded. Dad, I think I'm okay either way. Update 30. Final update. It's been 6 months since this whole nightmare started, and Tyler and I are doing really well. Marcus is serving an additional 8 months for violating his restraining order. His parole officer told me that Marcus still maintains he was helping Tyler become a man and shows no understanding of why his actions were harmful. Some people never change. Sarah completed her initial counseling requirements but failed her psychological evaluation for the second time. Her therapist recommended an additional 6 months of intensive therapy before reconsidering visitation. According to Sarah's mother, who Tyler and I see regularly now, Sarah has started dating someone new, a guy she met in her court-ordered parenting class. He seems nice enough, Sarah's mom told me, but Sarah's already talking about how he's great with kids and would be a good father figure for Tyler. I tried to talk to her about maybe focusing on herself for a while, but she got defensive. Some patterns are hard to break. Tyler is doing incredibly well. He's confident, happy, and has developed into a wonderfully empathetic kid who stands up for other children when they're being picked on. His therapist says he's one of the most emotionally intelligent children she's worked with. Tyler has learned to trust his instincts about people and situations, Dr. Kim explained. That's a skill that will serve him well throughout his life. Last week, Tyler asked me, Dad, when I grow up and have kids, how will I know how to be a good dad? Well, you're learning right now by watching how families should work, and you'll remember how it felt to be safe and loved, and you'll make sure your kids feel that way too. Will I be a better dad than Marcus would have been? Tyler, you'll be a great dad because you understand that being strong means being kind, and that taking care of people means keeping them safe, not scaring them. He smiled. I think I learned that from you. To anyone going through something similar, document everything. Trust your instincts. Prioritize your child's safety over adult feelings, even your own feelings about wanting your ex to be a good parent. Children are incredibly resilient, but they need consistency and safety to heal. And if someone tells your child that showing emotion is weakness, that person should not be around your child. Real strength is being vulnerable enough to feel your feelings and confident enough to ask for help when you need it. Tyler knows that now. Edit. Stop asking for Sarah's social media. She's Tyler's mother, and she's struggling. I'm not going to contribute to making her life harder. Edit 2. Yes, Tyler is still in therapy. So am I. This kind of situation affects everyone involved. Edit 3. For those asking about Marcus's other victims, Jessica is working with a victim's advocate to help other women who were involved with Marcus. The legal system is slow, but there are ongoing investigations. Edit 4. Tyler starts second grade next week at a new school. He's excited about his new teacher and has already made friends with 2 kids in our neighborhood. He's going to be just fine.